I was going to go through this real quick because I read a comment that was on my channel, and I think there's a misconception about Siege. I guess and I've heard it from multiple players that, Siege isn't important, but if you're building a big keep, I'll show you the report because I was mistaken. They actually did archer me first. I didn't see it when it happened because it happened quick. And also, let's understand, it's not an average alliance, it's RSP. So every player has buffs at 6k or higher. And it was before Shalon, so likely neither of us were using dragon skills. And they're sending 130 million plus in the rally. So with that being said, this isn't a report from a regular alliance. This is a report from one of the best alliances across all the continents. One of the best alliances in the whole game. So with that being said, let's look at it. So we'll just call it an argument because it is what it is. And if this has been something that's continued, so if you're going to look for a way to prove me wrong in my video, you're going to get a video dedicated to yourself. So the argument that was made was that my siege did nothing and the attack killed everything, which, admittedly, my mounted tiers are not where they should be. So they did get through all the way through to my 11s, and my 10s stopped them, which I need more 10s, right? But the argument was made that the siege didn't do anything. But if you go through this report, I'll guarantee you that the siege outdid the ground. And why? Because if you don't know, you should know. Everybody should know. If you look at your reports against archer rallies, T10 and T9 siege are going to kill more than, any other tier across the board. And you look at the ground kills archer, right? Yeah, true. But Cav is in the battle ahead of ground. So what that means is that your ground is going to be getting killed, or your Cav is going to be getting killed before the ground gets there. Ground gets high numbers because while your Cav is being killed by their archer, the Cav is going to tie up the archer rally and the ground is going to finish it off. So that's why your high tier ground is going to have good numbers, 12 through 15. But let's see what the siege did. 15 doesn't kill very many. The reason your high tier siege doesn't kill very many is because of their range. So when the archer hits, when the siege is firing, the archer's not there. And I can prove this. So we'll look at the 14s. The 14s killed about 2 million. The 13s killed about 4.5 million. The 12s killed about 3.6. Now you'll start seeing numbers again. So the T11 killed 4.7, which is more than the 12s, which is more than the 13s, which is way more than the 14s, and it's a different world compared to what the 15s did. It doesn't even hold a candle to it. Now, when we get down to T10. So T10 siege killed more than any other tier, any other layer across the whole report. And then the T10 Cav, they killed more than the T10 Siege. But that's when you get into these big archer rallies, the tier in Cav where the rally stops, because they killed a little less than half of my T10s. That layer in Cav is always going to have the highest kill number. But then you get down to the T9s, and they killed 2.9 million, but the T9 Siege killed 5.7, give or take a few. So the statement that the Siege did nothing and it's a waste of resources is illogical, because if you have low tier Siege, what do you think is going to happen? Or if you have low numbers of high tier Siege, what happens when they send small Siege? They'll walk right through all your Siege, and they'll kill a majority of your archer. Or they send high tier Siege first, clear all your Siege and most of your high tier archer. Then they send small Siege second, and they're going to clear a huge majority of your archers. You need Siege to protect your archers. Without Siege in the equation, you're going to get messed up. That's just math. That's the simple basics of the game. So, like I said, if you don't know, you should know. Against archer rallies, T10 and T9 Siege are going to kill a majority. T11 will have good numbers, and T13 will have good numbers. So the statement that building Siege isn't a good idea is probably a good idea for traps, but that's the nature of the game. Traps are completely different. Because a lot of people ask me about traps, but at the end of the day, let's be honest. If you're a trap and there's an archer rally of 130 million, which sometimes my team sends about that much, you move. I promise you. Like, if I shared battlefield videos, I would see traps that every time a rally's put on them, they're moving. The trap thing, it was good against solos. But when you're talking rallies, I mean, you'll survive a couple if you have heavy rains, for sure. But the simple fact with traps and the philosophy on how you build, when you start to build out, like, you need to throw away all the rules of a trap, and you need to look at all the rules of a traditional keep, because the trap rules don't apply anymore. If you build out and you don't have Siege, you're going to get trashed. If you're a trap and you have Siege, you're going to get trashed, because there's no buffs to support it. You've used all your HP gear for flat HP on your cav. So at the end of the day, that's pretty much my point. Is you have to have Siege, and Siege needs to be strong, because you're going to be looking at these rallies. I mean, let's look. How many was there? 125 million troop rally with buffs of almost 8,000. And it's RSP, so you can pretty much figure how many marches were in there. You can pretty much figure at least half of these were like 6,000, right? And 16s. And I have no 16s. So what does that mean? That means that, like, it looked positive, but it was way more positive than it looked. And the reason that I say that is because there's probably a lot of 16s, and here's more. There's 500,000. So they're sending 16s to kill 15s, which really isn't that effective. And you look at how it went, and how it went was They killed my high tier horses, but I'm just one button away from, if it's a normal battle where you're playing to win, I've got all my dragon talents, and I'm going to just do the 20% hospital dragon. So at the end of the day, like, this report's a lot more positive than it looks like. It's positive. You can see it's positive, but it's, in truth, as far as points go, it's way more positive than what it looks like, because, again, we're sending 16s to kill 15s, which is going to win you the battle. But, I mean, we're talking, I probably killed, like, between 8 and 10 million of these troops were 16s. So, with that being said, you may as well, you'll figure that it's a lot more point positive than we realize. Can we look at this? And I did have a lot of rain. But they lost 10.6, and we lost we'll round it up 8.2, so that's 1.4 billion negative. But that still doesn't touch the point part of the issue. And that's what worries me, is some people hear something from one person in their alliance, or some person hears something from wherever it may be, and you take that as gospel and you try to, like, rewrite the rules. Well, it's irresponsible situation, because you're going to influence people, and if you don't know, then you're leading people the wrong way, and you're guiding people in an incorrect manner. Whoops, I keep clicking on that dang thing. Which, KK is my alliance. She's a great keep. Defensively, very good. Offensively, really good. So this one here is negative. And here they did send siege. And let's look at the buffs. 73-44. Against my what? 46-21. Then you look at their debuffs. It's insane. It's insane, because their research is way, way higher in this. And Pappy, I think he's like a 48, maybe a 49. Let's look at how many they send. They send 138 million. 138 million siege. And we can look at the report. I have one siege march in so far. Two siege marches. So, right off the rip, like, if there's 3 or 4 siege marches, it makes a big difference. And they do tear through my siege for sure. But with the amount they have, the buffs, I'm not 100% surprised. But it did keep it relevant. My siege did. Now, 10s and 9s against big siege are not going to fare well. They're not going to kill a lot. But see, this is like why, one of the reasons I quit doing videos for a while is because there'd be someone that's going to sit there and they're going to nitpick and try to find some way to prove me wrong. And here's the issue with that. And that's fine. Keep me on my toes. Keep me going back to reports and looking, because everything's going to be based on reports. So you're not going to jump on and go, oh, yeah, but you're wrong. That's not going to happen, because everything that I say is based on reports. I built my whole keep, my buffs, my debuffs, my wall generals, my champions, literally everything in the game that I've done has been based off reports. So at the end of the day, when you say that against the Archer rally, your siege does nothing, like you get called out on that. And I could go through the numbers, but I don't have to, because you look at the numbers and it shows you that that what I'm saying is correct. It shows you that she sent a ground solo. That was foolish. It'll show you, like, just in glancing at it, I know that the siege probably killed more than any other troop type when we look at the combination of it. And of course, this one, with the high tier mounted gun, that's an issue. Also, let's consider I'm a K-44 fighting against the best team, one of the best teams, probably the second best team behind VIG in the whole game. So that means they've got 3 more levels of research that I don't have. And let's double that and call it 6, because they opened up the academy to more levels now too. So let's just go ahead and call it 6 levels of research. That's a lot of buffs. And I'm a K-44. So let's look at this, which they ran through me for sure. Like this one, I know they ran through me. Let's look at the buffs. Almost 8,000 on the Archer. And whoops, we didn't look at the summary. And 147 million. And mainly Archer aim. There's a siege. There's a good siege. But decimated. There's a ground. See, and that's another issue too, is like the setting ground is rain against Archer. The ground doesn't engage until after your cav already being hit. So we look at it, and this was a siege? It was an Archer. And at this point, the cav, they cleared all my cav, I believe. Yeah, so the Archer started to get killed up top. Quite a bit, actually. And the T10 killed some. The T9 killed some. It really seems like for the T10 and T9 to really do stuff, you have to have the other siege up top to tie them up a little bit. And my numbers are cut down a wee bit. So, yeah, at the end of the day, the siege did do nothing. In this report, yeah, siege did a lot less, but there was no high tier siege. So it's all about the dynamic of the game. And ultimately, we come down to the discussion, and the discussion was siege does nothing. Well, I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you on that. To say that siege does nothing when we look at the first report is, like I say, just that's irresponsible journalism. What did I ever do to you? which actually I might have fought you in a battlefield and completely destroyed you. But yeah, that could be it. But yeah, when you look at it, like, this is the initial report, and the Archer did not kill everything, and the Archer was not positive. It wasn't even anywhere near. When you're talking 16s, and we could even look, I'm pretty sure that I only have a few players that sent 16s, and they probably weren't heaps, and they weren't the only players that I know that could have. I don't think Indy. Oh, Indy does. Combat Rana Esky YB may have some, but he mainly sends just a layered march usually. So it's not a big deal. Which, when you look at this and you see some of your teammates, and I don't know what he initially sent. Well, that was the first report, so that's pretty probably initially sent 10,000 of each, which is just designed to tie up and slow down the rally. Which is fine, because my thought process is if you don't have a great defense, no matter how many reigns you have, it's not going to be good. It might be even. Likely it's going to be negative, and there might be a rare chance that you get the right combination of reinforcements and it is positive. But that's my train of thought too, is I don't need to send, like, if your defense isn't good without my reigns, it's not going to be good with them. But like I say, at the end of the day, when you look at this, we'll just see, make sure they all sent Archer. 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 Archer, so true Archer rally. But yeah, like I say, at the end of the day, it is, it holds to be true that the siege is just always going to kill, as long as you have the right tiers built up. So I just wanted to do another video because kind of felt like I feel like the player that sent that message, you're trying to take a shot at me and trying to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. But when you look at the report, the opposite is proven true. I mean, that's how it is. And here's the other thing too, is like players like me. I'm not a huge player. I'm not a celebrity YouTube player. I'm not. So the difference is they have such big keeps, and they've got literally every buff that you can have. So what they say only refers to like a small percentage of the whole in the game. You're talking maybe 2% of all players in the game, maybe 2% have all those troops, have all those buffs, have all those debuffs, have extra subsidies, all the stuff that none of us can really have. I'm a mid-sized keep, and I always have been. So I've had to play above my keep level, always. Shalons, all-stars. So with that being said, wouldn't you rather take my word based on the experiences I've had, the experience I have in the game, and the countless hours of reading reports? If you're a K44 or a K45, wouldn't you rather get your info from someone who's been there, who is a keep similar to yours with similar buffs and similar debuffs and similar power? Wouldn't you rather take info from someone that is at your level rather than someone that you're not even in the same league as. Like 80% of keeps that face RSP, 90%, 95% of keeps that face RSP or VIG are not even in their league. You aren't even playing the same game, because their buffs are anywhere from 8K to 10K when everything's activated. So, with that being said, if I say something, I put something on the video, like, you can take it to the bank. So I think the smart move is, moving forward, in my videos, I think for us as a community, the smart move is to assume that I am always correct. And with that, I hope everyone has a great Tuesday. And I think we have proved our point with this video.